Hi, I'm Effie, and if this is the first time I'm popping across your feeds, welcome. I predominantly make bookish content, but I have been branching out and making a little bit of cross-stitch content recently, so this is going to be my first kind of cross-stitch update of the year, where I talk about the projects that I've been working on in January and February and kind of tell you where I'm at with them. So I'm trying something a little bit different with this video, and I'm hoping that the setup will work. I'm trying to have a dual camera setup, but I'm not sure if it will work. If it does work, hopefully it will mean that I'm going to be able to put in up close footage of my projects as I'm talking about them. In January and February, it was a bit of a feast or famine. There were some days and weeks where I just couldn't stop cross stitching and I was doing a lot, and then there were also days and weeks where I didn't cross stitch at all. So the total number of stitches that I did in those 2 months was 16,338, and that was across 7 different projects of which, sorry, I'm looking down at my notes, of which 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those projects were new starts that I hadn't planned on doing. So I guess let's have a look at the projects. I will try and have information on screen about what these projects are, and as usual I will link in the description any patterns that are publicly available. So the first pattern that I worked on for a bit was this one, and this is a pattern that I have created myself, and it is inspired by Shadow and Bone. And as you can see in the graphic, the final pattern will have the text "Fine, make me your villain," which is a quote from the first book in the Shadow and Bone series, Shadow and Bone. I put in 154 stitches on that project in the past couple of months. The next project was the one new start that was actually a planned new start for me, and it is the pattern that I've dubbed Romantic Lead. This is an image that I feel like is very much the sort of thing that you would see on a modern romance book cover, and I just really enjoy it. I slightly adjusted it from how I originally patterned it, but I really enjoy how it's come out. I think the colours are quite vibrant and interesting. I think the hands, whilst they could read a bit more like hands, I think considering the scale of this, it's actually turned out pretty well, and I am pretty excited by the pattern. And I know that it is something that I've adapted for other patterns that I'm going to be working on. So I'm glad to see that it actually does work and it reads as a piece. The next pattern was this little thing. It was just a random thing. As I was waking up one morning, I was like, oh, how cute would a pattern be where it was this iconic scene from Jennifer's Body. And this is a bookmark, and you can see I've sort of made the flame quite cartoonish, and I made the lighter quite a bright shade of pink because I wanted it to pop. But I can't remember how big this piece is. I'm sure the information will be in the graphic that was on the previous screen, but considering it's quite a small piece, I think the level of detail is really impressive. And on the back it has iron-on interfacing. You'll see this on the next piece as well. So the next piece was actually a birthday present for my husband, and it's probably going to be a bit weird if you don't know us, but it is this. It is a bookmark of my best friend who my husband also absolutely adores, and this was done using tent stitch. I actually did another piece which I will show later on in the video, which was my first time using tent stitch, and then I created this with tent stitch, and as I said earlier, it's got iron-on interfacing on the reverse. With regards to iron-on interfacing, I would love if people could leave me tips and tricks in the comments, because I'm finding that it's not bonding as well as I would like, and I don't know if that's because I'm using CXC threads, so I'm not able to turn the iron up hot enough, or if there's a knack to it. Please do leave me all your suggestions and advice in the comments. The next piece is another piece that's inspired by my best friend. It doesn't look like much at the moment, but as you can see in the graphic, it is going to look pretty stunning, which on brand, she is a stunning woman when it is complete. So I decided that I was going to go all around the edge of this piece, and it's in a Q-snap at the moment, so you can't see the full thing, but I did basically stitches all around the edge of it so that I essentially had an outline. And then I've been working on the diagonal, so I've kind of been going like that, but I've been kind of filling blocks across as I was working on the diagonals, so that it's not just a straight diagonal, but sometimes if the block extends across, I've extended it across. I feel like at this point I have to apologize because my techniques, I mean, there probably is techniques for what I'm doing, but I'm very new to the online cross-stitch community. I've been cross-stitching since a kid, but there wasn't the same level of universal language, or at least to my knowledge, there wasn't the same level of universal language to talk about the different techniques. But that's the great thing about the internet, I guess. And then the next piece is inspired by a piece of art by Peter Smith, and it currently looks like this. And I can't remember the full title of the piece, but I think part of its name is Moriarty, and it is a companion piece to a large print that I've got on the wall of my library. I will see if I can include a photo on screen of the art print that hangs in my library, but this is kind of a companion piece, obviously significantly smaller, but I think it will look really cute alongside it. And as you can see, I started and did the same thing where I went all along the edges with this piece, and then I've just been working through and doing a colour at a time. I believe this technique is called extreme cross country. I'm not 100% sure. As I say, I may not have the correct language, but I will say that I'm not loving this technique because, as you can see, the back is getting quite messy and fluffy, which is not ideal. And then the final piece that I have worked on in January and February of this year was this little piece. And earlier in the video I mentioned that I did a piece to try out tent stitch, and that was what this piece was. I wanted to see if I liked the effect and if it was something that I would want to do on my work, and I'm still somewhat on the fence about tent stitch. I think it definitely has a purpose, but I think for me, I prefer the final result that you get with a full cross. I'm not ruling out using tent stitch, and I think it's something that I possibly would be interested in looking at projects that I'm specifically, explicitly doing in tent stitch. But for me, I think I'm going to be sticking with full cross. But then again, tent stitch would be quite useful to quickly stitch up a project, see if a pattern's working, etc. So I'm sure you'll see other tent stitch pieces from me in the future. I feel like this video has been kind of short and sweet, so thank you for watching. If you enjoyed seeing my face on your computer, your phone, your television, whatever other devices you might be watching content on, maybe consider subscribing. And until next time, happy stitching. Bye!